Islam to all the Moors. I'm Dr. Yasapa from Zion Law School. Welcome to the free Astrotheology course. It's good to be back. Good to be back. I'm ready to finish up this book. I don't know if we can do it today, but I'm certainly ready to finish it up. Okay, so this is our textbook, The Gospel and the Zodiac. The Secret Truth About J.C. the Christ Figure. The author is Bill Darrell-El. If you want a copy of it, there's a link to a free PDF in the description area of this video, along with links to Ancient Ibaryath books that I have written, and my online class and my live class. The online class is 101 Ancient Ibaryath. Okay, so that's a streaming class, 24/7 availability. And then, of course, 506 The Curses course, where I teach you the etymological meaning of every word in Deuteronomy chapter 28. Okay? Right now we are on, I think we're on verse 25. Okay? So what are you going to get from that? You get the etymological meaning, you get the grammar rules, and not only do you get the etymological meanings, but you get it from multiple sources. All right? Multiple sources. We look at almost all of the versions of the scriptures that are online, or if you have a Bible that's not online, we look at everything. And in that whole process, I teach you by showing you what each verse means, what each word means, not from a belief system, but literally, using linguistics and linguistic concepts. Okay? In that process, you learn how to be a Bible translator. Okay, there's a lot of skill sets involved in that. There's philology. There's a lot of different sciences that we use. Of course, there's natural law in there, there's astrology in there, and there's astrotheology. So I show you how to do all of this on your own, all right? So that class is 506 The Curses course. The link is in the description area of the video. Now, when y'all buy my books, make sure you only buy them on zionlawschool.org. Don't buy them on Amazon or any other place like that, because they take way too much money. All right? And thanks to everyone who has contributed, supported my effort, my campaign to raise enough fiat to write the book of the law in Ancient Ibaryath and modern English, to make it a true copy, a true reflection of what the original book of the law actually said and what it was understood to say. All right? In other words, I remove all of the lies and the deceit, all of the religion, and show the science, the natural law that has been masked or remixed into a religion. Okay? So in that, you not only get the natural law, that would be the Hermetic laws, lesser, also the lesser laws, you get the astrology and lesser laws that are there, and so much more. Also, you'll get to see constitutional principles. Okay? In other words, you'll see information in the Constitution, and you'll see that it goes right back into the book of the law. That's its source, right out of the book of the law. Okay? So you'll see all of that. All right? So I'm going to correct all of the Jeremiah 8:8 occurrences. So thanks in advance to y'all who will support, and thank you for those of you who have supported the project. Much appreciated. All right, so let's start on page 23. We are on Pisces. The main incidents are betrayal. That should be obvious, right? Because Pisces, duality, duplicity, intentional deceit, suffering, sacrifice, death, resurrection. These all follow nature. Nature follows the sun, the S-U-N sun, okay? So in astrology, there's the rise of the sun, it going north, and the fall of the sun, it going south. So there's a constant battle between light and darkness as the number of daylight hours increase or decrease, and the number of nighttime hours increase or decrease. There's a constant battle between light and darkness, which is remixed in religion as good and evil. Okay? So betrayal, suffering, sacrifice, death, and resurrection. Watch the video that I did. I think it's Who is the Man with the Jar of Water, number 44. If you want the specifics of betrayal, suffering, sacrifice, death, and resurrection as it relates to astrology. Zodiacal keywords: self-sacrifice, hidden things, dreams, suffering. Why dreams? Why dreams? This is related to Joseph. Joseph, the dreamer of dreams, and his brothers got mad, right? Suffering. Joseph suffered as a result of what his brothers did to him. Compassion. Some people might say that the Most High had compassion on Joseph. Secret enemies. So for example, I'm just sticking with the story of Joseph. Joseph's brothers were his secret enemies. Joseph was not aware that his own brothers hated him. What caused the hate? Jealousy and envy. Jealousy and envy. Self-undoing and deceptions. So those brothers who attacked Joseph behind his back, that was a form of self-undoing, right? And deception. So they deceived Joseph. You might also say that Joseph was self-sacrificing. I'm just relating this to the Bible story. All right. Hidden things. Hidden things. Joseph dreamed dreams that were hidden. And y'all know the story about him in Egypt, being in prison, and so on and so forth, his dreams. Okay, so hidden things. He had knowledge of hidden things. So this is a way you can remember these zodiacal keywords. All right, so now we're going to look into the text. Pisces begins, according to the author, in Mark chapter 14, verse 17, all the way through verse 16, chapter 16 rather, verse 8, verse 18 rather. Let me say, I messed that up. Let me say it again. Pisces section in the book of Mark, according to the author, begins at Mark chapter 14, verse 17, and ends at chapter 16, verse 18. Clear? Now, I brought this out yesterday, but I want to bring it to your attention again now. Okay, Mark chapter 14, verse 17. 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 1 is 6. 6 is the first perfect number in nature. 6 also means perfection, a perfect man. I'm not going to go through all of this. Y'all have to go back and watch the video again. So it's no coincidence that on page 66, you see the man, the Maserat, the Zoad, okay, the Maserat, the Zoad, and the parts of a man's body that each is represented by each zodiac sign. Pisces happen to be the feet. Y'all see the two fish? Pisces is the feet. Okay? If you turn to page 20, I think it's page 20, you'll get the information about 6. On page 20, you get the information about the number 6. 6 is the first perfect number. Okay, so 6, perfect, first perfect number in nature. 6, no coincidence, or is it a coincidence that the man and the zodiac is on page 66? Is that a coincidence, y'all? Absolutely not, because there are too many coincidences for it to be a coincidence. Clear? Okay, now what else can we get from this? Mark chapter 14, verse 17. So 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 1 is 6, and then 7 is the number for cosmic harmony. 7 is the number for cosmic harmony. So, take a look at this chart. You see the Mazzaroth, the Zodiac. You see that each part of the body represents or is represented by a Zodiac. Okay? And we also know from the scripture that the constellations are for signs and seasons. Right? We also know that if you live outside of harmony with nature, you may not survive it. Most obvious example would be to jump off of a building or off of a mountain. You know you're going to go down, right? You have no equipment on, no nothing. You're going to go down. Okay? Period. Whether it's due to gravity or buoyancy, whatever, you're going to go down. And most likely you will not survive. If you do survive, you may be paralyzed, but you'll definitely never be the same. Why? Because you violated the law. Right? What if you jump into an ocean? You're on a yacht. And you're in the middle of the ocean. And you jump off. Or you're just going to go for a swim. What's the chances of you surviving that? Well, why? Because you violated the law. Our bodies are not designed to swim in an ocean. Whether you become dehydrated, whether you drown, dehydration first, then you drown, whether you get eaten by a big fish, or whatever the cause, the current takes you under, and you're not strong enough to go against the current, or it's dark and you can't see. You don't know which way is up, right? Or maybe you know that you follow the bubbles, but maybe you have no more air in your lungs, so you don't know which way is up. You're gonna perish. You see what I mean? Try not drinking water. But there are so many ways you can violate the natural laws that will cost you your life. Right? So it should be obvious. Signs and seasons. The stars tell us, the constellations tell us when winter is coming. So you need to live in harmony with nature, right? Otherwise you're going to freeze to death. The stars tell us, or are a sign when spring is coming, and when summer is coming, and when fall is coming. So if you're not living harmonically with nature, you're going to miss the harvest. Matter of fact, you won't even have a harvest because you didn't plant anything. Y'all see what I mean? So anyway, man living in harmony with nature, following the Zodiac. I don't mean religion. I mean living in harmony with nature. Okay? Not religion. Not worshiping stars or any crazy stuff like that. That's ridiculous type of stuff that y'all been taught in the churches, taught in religion. Man living in harmony with nature, making his decisions based upon the signs and the seasons from above. This is perfection. Okay? 12 constellations plus the man, the sun is 13. 13 is perfect government. Perfect government. This is the Republican form of government, the Republican state of mind. Self-governance. Sovereignty. Nobody needs to tell you anything. Why? You're harmonic with nature. So you will stay in honor at all costs and at all times. Clear as day, right? So do you think it's a coincidence that now that we're talking that we're in the book of Mark, chapter 14, verse 17, you think it's a coincidence that now we're talking about a perfect man and perfect rulership? Huh? Y'all think that's and cosmic harmony? So when you are living your life according to the signs and the seasons, per the Zodiac, per the Maserat, the Zoad, number 7, you're in harmony with the cosmos. Y'all see that? Follow natural law, the Zodiac, the signs and the seasons, and you are harmonic with the cosmos. That's the number 6 and the number 7. Y'all think that that's a coincidence? Come on now. All right. Okay. So even when we look at the ending verse, now I'm still learning about the numbers, y'all. So I don't know. I wish I had someone who's expert on these numbers. So here we see 1 plus 6. We're looking at Mark chapter 16, verse 8. Okay, 1 plus 6 is 7, cosmic harmony. And 1 plus 8 is 9. I don't know the meaning of number 9. The Hermetic meaning of number 9. So if anybody knows, put it in the comment section. And y'all tell me, can you subtract? Can you do 1 minus 7? 1 minus 8 gives you 7? I don't know. I'm still learning about these numbers. If that is, you get 7 and 7, which would be cosmic harmony emphasized. Okay? So you get number 6, perfect man, is following the Zodiac, following the signs and the seasons. He's governing his life by nature. Followed by 3 sevens. 7, 7, 7. Okay? Or 7 cubed, which is an emphasis on cosmic harmony. Otherwise, it would be 6, 7, 7, and 9. I don't know what the 9 means. Okay, but you still have 7, 2 sevens, so that's 7 squared. All right, so still cosmic harmony emphasized, and then whatever the 9 means. All right. Okay, let's start. Okay, so we are on page I think we're on page 207. Let me make sure. I've been wanting a donut for like 2 months. So I finally broke down and bought 2. And actually, these donuts, it tastes pretty good. All right. So y'all, don't forget about the insult. The insult concerning Joseph, in my opinion, it's an insult. Concerning Joseph, according to the Jews, Joseph is Pisces. Now y'all should see straight away that you're being played just by them even trying to get you to consider that. They're playing you. They think you're stupid. Okay? They think you're stupid. Page 206. So make sure you read it. So let's begin. I'm going to begin on page 206 by reading a quote from Allen on page 340. The Egyptians, now remember Joseph and the Egyptians, the responsibilities and the good that Joseph did to the Egyptians, or for the Egyptians, with the Egyptians. Remember the good that he did. Also remember the toxicity, the extreme toxicity and duplicity, the double-handedness, the dishonorable characteristics of Pisces. So here we go. The Egyptians, the instructors, the teachers, the professors of the Hebrews in astrology are said to have abstained from eating sea fish. In other words, the Egyptians would not eat fish from the sea. Why? It continues. Out of dread, that's extreme fear, or you feel terrorized about it, right? Out of dread and abhorrence. It's disgusting. Like if you smell cow poop, cow manure, makes you go, that's how they felt about eating fish from the sea. Why? Because Pisces, the zodiac sign Pisces. Okay, it continues. And when they, that is the Egyptians, would express anything odious, anything disgusting, anything terrible, anything dangerous, negative, and when they would express anything odious, represented a fish in their hieroglyphics. Can you all imagine that? So if something was so terrible, so disgusting, so negative in whatever form you want to think about, negative, dangerous, disgusting, whatever, they represented it as a fish in their writing. But then this author is going to turn around and say that the Hebrews, I don't know if he's talking about Jewish people, the religion, or the bloodline people, or both, had good things to say about Pisces, although they were taught by the master astrologers, the Egyptians. And then there's a footnote. In fact, the author is telling you, you need to feel compassion and have empathy, rather. Have empathy. Have empathy for people who are duplistic, deceitful, dishonorable, double dealers, double dippers. People, in other words, people who try to trick you and hurt you. steal your birthright, take your life, or one of your kinfolk or heirs' lives. You need to have empathy or compassion for them. You need to see the good in them. Y'all see how foolish that is? But your religion tells you to turn the other cheek and to forgive and forget. Let me tell y'all something. I've lived in Southeast Asia for a long time. Long time. Almost 20, wow, almost, I'm pushing 20 years. I'm pushing 20 years outside of the U.S. I'll tell you this. In Southeast Asia, people don't forget here. Oh no, they don't forget. On the good side and the bad side. I'll give you an example. I asked my friend, why are the people so giving in Vietnam? And this was my friend's answer. Because when you give, the people will, let's say someone gives you something, they write it down in their book. Yeah, they're not going to forget. They write down what they gave you, how much they gave you, what it was for. And then the next time something comes around, let's say it was a holiday, all right, they gave you X amount of money, they gave you a gold chain or a gold ring. They do stuff like that here. They write it in their book. And then the next time around, it's your turn to give them. They're going to check their books. Yeah, they're going to check that's the truth. They check their books. And you bet not give lesser value than what was given to you. Okay, because if you do that, you ruin your reputation, and nobody is going to be willing to give you anything or help you. I was so surprised by that. And then I thought about it. I said, okay, well, that makes sense. That makes sense, because people give themselves a reason to give and be honest. Right? Because they may need something in the future. That's how people think, at least in Vietnam. In India, it was a different story. But anyway, let's continue. Y'all make sure y'all read page 205 and 206, including the footnote. All right, so let's go over to page 207. Oh, no. Wait. I remember we stopped yesterday on page 206. Okay, so let's pick the story up. So the last paragraph on the page reads, this is some funny stuff. Pisces is Christianity. Let's look at this quote. From modern writers, that's modern astrologers. Okay, so anything that the modern writers, astrologists say, we need to do two things. We need to analyze it to see if they plagiarize one of our ancient ancestors. In that case, we keep it. Okay? And we acknowledge it as being ancient. If it is not ancient, and they said it, we cross it out. It has no meaning for us. Okay, why? Because we are returning to the principles, the heritage, the culture, etc. of our ancient foremothers and forefathers. Okay, so if the modern astrologers are saying anything different than that, then let that go. Okay, they certainly don't know more than our ancient ancestors did. They may think they know, and they may have all the reason, and you might even agree with them. But you better remember, they don't and you don't have the background and the mastery of astrology, of natural law that our ancient ancestors had. Okay? So don't be fooled. Don't be fooled. Okay? Stick with the law, the instructions that our foremothers and forefathers gave us. Okay, so now let's continue. For modern writers, in fact, the faults of Pisces, which so horrify Menelaus, are really just, notice this y'all, are really just expressions of Pisces' extreme sensitivity. Y'all got that? In other words, you deceive someone. Today that's called fraud. Imagine you go to a court accused of fraud, and then you give the alibi, it wasn't fraud, I'm just extremely sensitive. You see how ridiculous this stuff sounds when you think about it? I'm just sensitive. I didn't set him up to be exterminated. I didn't. I'm just sensitive. You see how foolish, how ridiculous of an alibi that is? Of an excuse that is? But anyway, let's continue. Now, why are they doing this? Because they have a very dirty, publicly known history. The religious people. The Jews, the Christians, Catholics are Christians. Y'all know in Asia, they say that Catholics are not Christians, that Christianity and Catholicism are different. You see how mixed up they are? But it's not their fault because that's what they were taught. Right? That's what they're taught. And they're so proud. Not so much here in Asia, but when you go to Europe, they're very proud to be Catholic. But they have no knowledge of the Bible whatsoever, in general. So let's continue. Okay, so what are these faults according to modern astrologers? This is coming from Menelaus. Okay, such faults spring from his, that's Pisces, being a victim of the world, in a sense, and being a sensitive soul lost in a world which has little respect for sensitivity. So imagine these school shooters, these hybrids who are school shooters. They go shoot up a school or a mall, or policy enforcers who choke someone out or shoot them in the back, shoot a child. And yet, we're supposed to have empathy for them, have compassion for them, because they didn't do it because they are bad people. They did it because they're so sensitive, and they have to deal with rejection. They're just a sensitive soul lost because their father was mad at them or their mother was, whatever the reason. Or the Catholic Church, the Christian religions enslaved you, they oppress you now. All of the crimes they've committed against us, but we should forgive them. Why? Because at that time when they did it, they were just lost souls trying to make their way through, trying to figure out their doctrine. In other words, you ain't Shit. It's all about them. What caused them to genocide you out and to oppress you now? The effects of it on you, it has nothing to do with it. You don't need to think about you. You need to think about them. To the extent that you're going to turn around and say, I forgive you. Or worse, I'm sorry. Y'all see how religion got your mind twisted? It's disgusting. Y'all know I'm telling you the truth because you see it in your own family, in your own neighborhood, and you see it on TV. All right? The various gambits by which Pisces people try to hide their sensitivity and their inability to deal with the world at times include deceit. Y'all see that? Y'all see that? They're so sensitive. And they don't want you to know that they're sensitive. They want to hide it because they're so sensitive. That in order to deal, in order to function in the world, they need, or they're going to deceive you. In other words, they're going to commit fraud. They're going to steal your property, steal your birthright. They're going to trick you, set you up to catch a case or to get KILLED. And you're supposed to say, okay, well, I understand. He's so sensitive. No, what you should say is that according to nature, you deserve to leave the earth plane. Now, and I bet you there'll be a whole lot less sensitive people in the world. Okay? So, Pisces people try to hide their sensitivity and their inability to deal with the world. So the ways they do it include deceit, hypocrisy. Who's deceiving you right now? Well, the banking system deceives you. The political system deceives you. The religious system deceives you. And all the people who are in it are deceiving you. T. Garnett 101 says, hello. Shalom in Islam, T. Garnett 101. All of these people are deceiving you. The church and the state. The corporations are deceiving you. The food industry is deceiving you, selling you poison as food, selling you poison as medicine. The healthcare system is everybody's deceiving you. But according to this logic, it's because they're so sensitive. Why? Because they're really just men and women and hybrids. Y'all see this sick, toxic thinking? Y'all see it? Deceit, hypocrisy, and lying. Three faults which emerge from a lack of real self-confidence. So now, these people, let's say you got a case, and your defense is that you're sensitive because you lack self-confidence. They're going to lock you up. They're going to lock you up and throw away the key. But yet, your religious doctrine tells you that that's okay as long as it is not you. The Moor, or the denationalized Moor, who is sensitive and lack self-confidence, committing these crimes, committing fraud, committing perjury. As long as it's not you, it's a hybrid, or one of their minions, it's okay. But if it's you, you get locked up for as long as they can lock you up for. In other words, you get escheated and a turn and hit with build of Attainder, you get the worst things that could happen to someone. Okay? And why? It's because you're out of harmony with nature. You're disrespecting your ancient foremothers and forefathers. You're not living according to their principles. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. The essence of that, of all five of those, is what? Do no harm. Don't harm anyone. That's the essence of following natural law. Nothing more, nothing less. But when you're in religion, you are automatically in dishonor. Okay? You are a bondman or a bondwoman. You're in the punishments, the curses, Deuteronomy 28, 15 through 68. Period. So, they can do anything they want with you because you are property. You're property. And they can regulate commerce. And you're nothing. Black coffee. All right. Let's continue. Let's continue. All right. Spiritual lessons. Still on page 206. Last paragraph. Notice this. The difference which Pisces people so often display is our key to understanding the spiritual lessons of Pisces. All right, so we're going to focus in on these differences. The differences, according to the author, that's the key to understanding Pisces. Lack of confidence in self. Now remember, Catholicism, Christianity is Pisces. They have a lack of confidence in themselves. Now y'all think about the hybrids that y'all know. Think about the Christians that y'all know. Are they confident in their religion? Or, like my uncle said, my uncle, one of my favorite, well, probably my favorite uncle, well, no, one of my favorite uncles, my Uncle Mark. My Uncle Mark said, this was around the time of 9/11, when the planes crashed into the World Trade Center. My uncle expired a long time ago, but he said, and it's true. He said, you know what? He used to like to sit around with me and drink his favorite drinks and talk about the Bible and the Quran. And I just sit there and I listen to him. So he told me, he says, yeah, I'm gonna tell you something, boy. He said if that would have been 2 Christians in that plane, he said they would have drove it right up as close as they could to the buildings, and then they would have turned away. He said 2 Christians would have turned away because they don't believe in their religion. They don't have confidence in what's going to happen to them at death. But he said that the Muslim, a different story. He believes. He's confident in his faith. But I never forgot that. And there's a lot of truth in that. Think about it. All of these Christians, they want to go to heaven. But yet they're not willing to die. They don't want to die. If heaven is so good, so much better than here, and you are sure you're going, well, why don't you want to die? Why are you afraid to die? Why are you hanging around here if you're sick, getting surgeries and taking medicines and going through all of this pain and suffering trying to stay here, if you're confident that you're going to heaven? If you truly have confidence in your belief, if you truly have faith. Or why is it that when somebody offers you something, money, sex, anything of value, or anything that you crave, why is it that you will go against what you believe in a heartbeat, you Christians? I tell you why, because you really don't believe it. You like to talk it. And it's a social thing for you, but you don't really believe it. How do I know? Your actions tell it all. Your actions tell the whole story. You don't believe. You don't have confidence that when you die, you're going to heaven. In fact, most of y'all running around here scared to burn in hell. Well, if your deity is so loving and so understanding, what you got to be scared for? What you got to be scared for? He know you doing the best you can. What you got to be scared for? But y'all scared to burn in hell. You're scared to die to go to heaven. Your life is nothing but fear. A fear-based lifestyle, period. You have no confidence in yourself or your deity. Okay, so lack of confidence in self, this is Christianity. Or in the future, right? Is that true about the Christians? Remember, Christianity is Pisces. Why y'all scared? You got so much faith and confidence in your deity. Why are you afraid about money? Why are you afraid about politics? See, if you were not afraid, you wouldn't even participate in the political system, because you would know your deity is going to protect you. No need to participate in the political system. Right? But look at y'all Christians. When the politicians want to get you to do something, what do? They get your actors, your they don't even, do they still have singers these days? Maybe a Beyonce, a rapper, or whatever, to get you to take the jab. Okay, they go to the churches and get your preachers to tell you to do anything, no matter how obviously genocidal it is, no matter how obvious it is against your best interest. And y'all do it. And y'all do it. It's a shame. Lack of confidence in self That's another reason why you're listening to politicians and singers and hip-hop. I can't even call them artists. People who carry a microphone and they talk in the microphone. How about that? Y'all listen to them. Your preachers. These are people. Y'all realize that these so-called hip-hop artists, y'all know 20, 30 years ago, people would have looked at them as being disgusting lowlifes. But they've been raised up. And now y'all looking at these people with these nasty lifestyles, and y'all trying to emulate them. Your mind is warped. Not all of y'all, but most of y'all. Just like babies, just like children on the playground. Y'all being controlled. How? How is it happening? Hermetically. The Hermetic law of mental gender. Keep your masculine mental energy weak, and then they impose their masculine will, masculine mental energy onto you, such that it overcomes yours and collaborates with your feminine energy, which is the equivalent of the Holy Spirit in the Hermetic Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, or the Holy Spirit. Go back and watch the last several videos I did, and you'll get what I'm talking about. Okay? You wonder why you can't cooperate with anyone? Well, because they're hitting you with schism operations. Yeah, they're causing rifts between people using the mechanism that I just described. You need to pick a side, A or B. You're for abortion or you're against abortion. You're for transgenderism or you're against transgenderism. You're for feminism or you're against feminism. So they give you these two-sided issues to cause schism. In other words, to cause you to have conflict and disagreements and distrust with each other. Okay, that's the Hermetic law of mental gender that they're doing that with. And then they hit you, shoot situations at you. As they say in the King Alfred plan, shoot situations at you. This is cause and effect, the Hermetic law of cause and effect. And you are unaware. You think these ideas that you have are yours, but they're not yours at all. Because they're using natural law against you. And most of y'all are too ignorant and lazy and too scared. Let me say it again, and too scared to put down that religious doctrine and start using your critical mind, your critical thinking skills, develop them, and come together, cooperate with each other, break the spell. Most of y'all don't want to do it yet because you're still getting SSI, you're still getting your welfare check, you're still getting a paycheck. What do y'all say? I got mine, you get yours. You laugh at each other when you have a problem, especially a financial problem. Y'all remember that song? Was it back in the 90s? Or maybe late 90s? Maybe late 90s. I think it was by TLC. I Don't Want to Scrub. Y'all remember that song? Can't no scrub do nothing for me. Something like that. Y'all remember that? So now, in North America, most of the men who look like me and you are locked out, frozen out of the economic system. You are pushed or relegated to the bottom. To the bottom of society. But yeah, here you have TLC, calling these brothers scrubs. And it's a matter beyond their control. The entire system, the weight of the system is against them. And then you have this type of music being played over the airwaves. For what? For what? To make you disrespect yourself, to cause a schism between a man and a woman, to make it so that a woman has no respect for a man who's in the average condition of most of the men. Not because of anything they did, but they were born into a system that oppresses them. And y'all bought it and ate it up. And you're still talking about high value men or something like that. Well, I got news for you. A high value man, if you think that fiat, Federal Reserve notes, is what high value is, you got a whole lot of pain and suffering coming to you until you change your mind. Education has nothing to do with character, and fiat has nothing to do with character. In fact, when you have a lot of fiat, it allows you to be more of who you are. So if you get with one of these men who have a lot of fiat, but they ain't got no respect for you as a woman because their mother had no respect for herself, or he watched her mother do his father wrong, and he has plenty of resources, what do you think he's going to do to you? And you chasing after fiat. That makes you a whore. You realize that? That makes you a whore. And he's going to treat you like a hoe. Now that's the reality. But y'all ate that stuff up. Y'all eating up the manosphere right now. All these schism operations, y'all eating it up. Boys and girls on the playground, doing what your gods tell you to do. Tell me I'm wrong. Put it in the comment section. How is that wrong? You think this is your thoughts. It's not your thoughts. These thoughts have been put into your head according to the law of mental gender. And these schism operations are incidents or causes and effects according to the Hermetic laws. Why? They want to show you and let you experience it with all of your senses, so you believe it. Cause and effect. So you're being played. That little coward in the Wizard of Oz, behind the curtain, that little hybrid, pulling the levers. With a little bitty dog, Toto pulled the curtain back. Dog spelled backward is lowercase G-O-D. God. And then Dorothy was always at home. She just didn't know it. She was living in a narrative. She was always at home. All she needed to do was wake up. Just like you. You need to wake up. Your whole your whole Christian gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. JC, the Christ figure in the gospel, is not a historical person, no matter how much you believe it. Your belief is based upon beliefs. All right? JC is the S-U-N sun. The 12 apostles are the 12 constellations. 12 plus 1 sun equals 13. Perfect rulership. You are the S-O-N sun. Your subconscious mind, or your subconscious, is feminine mental energy. It is the it creates. And then your masculine mental energy is outside of the body. It does not change. This is the I am. Excuse me. This is the I am. Masculine mental energy. It is the great I am. Why great? Because it always was, it always will be. It's not subject to death, and it was not subject to birth. It does not change. Okay? I be. So me, I be, I exist. Sound familiar? I am. That's the Father. I'm talking about where the Trinity came from hermetically, concerning the Hermetic laws. But you see Trinity everywhere. These threes. I am, I be. Masculine mental energy never changes. Consciousness never changes. The subconscious housed in the fleshly body is always becoming. You're creating something. You're rich today, poor tomorrow. Happy today, sad tomorrow. Okay? Always becoming, always changing. How does it happen? The collaboration of masculine mental energy and feminine energy, and then the feminine energy creates. Okay? Mama gives birth. Mama Earth gives birth. Mama Universe gives birth. Create. But it's always at the will. At the will. The will of the masculine energy must be present to collaborate first. You are the sun. The sun, you either have a womb or you don't have a womb. Okay? S-O-N, S-U-N, sun in the sky. A son is a man. So you are a man or a man with a womb. We say woman. So now you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. There's your Trinity. From the Hermetic laws. I'm not talking about the Trinity from astrology or astrotheology. Okay? In other words, I'm not talking about the sun. Okay, sunrise, the zenith, and then sunset. Okay? I'm not talking about all of that. These trinities are everywhere, y'all. All right, let's continue. So that quote about lack of self, that quote of lack of self-confidence and all of that, that came from Gettings, page 172. I'm sorry, let me repeat that. That came from Gettings, published in 1972, page 135 and 136. Okay? Somebody left their kids unattended, their children unattended, and they're playing a bunch of games and making a lot of noise. That's what y'all are hearing. All right? So let's continue. All right. Okay, lack of confidence in self or in the future is characteristic of most of us. Well, that's not me. I have confidence in me and my future. Okay, I don't know where y'all stand. Particularly so when one cycle of life is coming to an end. So y'all see that? So he's telling you. Same thing I said how long ago? These people lack confidence in what's going to happen to them at death. Y'all know almost all Christians are afraid to die. But notice what he says here. He says cycle of life. Cycle of life. That means that life doesn't stop and it's over forever. This says cycle of life. So the consciousness that you experience in your fleshly body, that is eternal. Never had a beginning, never had an end. Okay? Let me say it again. That consciousness never had a beginning and it will never end. It is eternal. This is remember, the masculine mental energy. So the consciousness gets transformed, or it returns to where it came from. Which is what? Masculine mental energy. I exist. And according to the author here, also according to the Kabbalion, by the 3 initiates, this is the Hermetic laws, life continues. Just takes a different form. All right? But I'm not telling you should believe that or not. I'm telling you what the natural laws say or are. All right? You believe what you want to believe. It's not my concern. Not my business. Okay? Notice this, y'all. Part of us wants to stay in the security of the past, preferring the devil we know to any merely promised angel. Okay, so in other words, you want to stay here because you know what the sufferings are. You learn to deal with these sufferings. That's a better situation to you because you don't know what happens after you die. You don't know these angels. You don't know heaven. Well, but you said you know heaven, right? You read the Bible every day. You go to church 2-3 times a week. But you're scared to leave here. Why? Because you don't know. You have no confidence in this deity. All right? So this is one of the Piscean fishes swimming backwards into the safe waters. So y'all know one fish is going south, the other fish is swimming north. Okay? So they're swimming in opposite directions. One fish wants to go stay in the past, right? The glorious past, like you're in high school, like when you were in high school, the glory days. You want to go back to high school days and when you were a football player and all the girls liked you, or you were a cheerleader and all the boys liked you. You want to go back. And then the other fish is swimming in the other way, which is the future, but you're scared of the future, because you don't know what it holds. Okay? All right. But it is at this point that we still, but it is at this point that we have to still our resolve. Remember, Pisces has poor resolve. To face the uncertainties of the future with confidence. To swim with the other fish into the open waters which beckon us to a new and fuller life. Okay, so now we're back to Pisces. Remember at the beginning of the chapter, Pisces has poor resolve. Y'all remember that? Let me see if I can find it. Oh boy. What page was that on, y'all, when we were reading that Pisces has poor resolve? Page 205. All right. Give me 1 second. I found it. Pisces lacks consistency and Pisces lacks resolve. So consistency and resolve. Now you have to have confidence to be consistent, right? You need to believe in yourself to be consistent. You need to have confidence and believe in yourself in order to have a strong resolve. Now remember, we talked about that. Opposites, right? The law of polarity. Opposites, hermetically speaking, opposites are the law of polarity. Opposites are the same thing, meaning it has the same nature. The opposite ends of this line or any other thing, the opposites differ only in degree, right? So, because of the law of vibration, there's movement. Everything is vibrating. Okay? Now, there are some things that are not opposite, like hate and temperature. Hate and warm. Okay, warm doesn't become hate. Warm becomes cold. Okay, so we're talking about opposites, hot and cold. Okay, the law of polarity. So everything is vibrating. For example, cold, the vibration is lower, the frequency is lower. Hot, the vibration or frequency is higher. Movement up and down this line is based upon the law of rhythm. You can rhythmically move up or you can rhythmically move down. How? Using the law of rhythm, for example, let's say if you're a coward, you want to be courageous, you focus your attention and your mind on being courageous, and you start to do courageous things. This is transmutation, rather. Not rhythm. This is transmutation. Specifically transmutation. So you can transmute, you can move up using the lesser law of transmutation. Y'all see it? See it? Now the law of rhythm is happening because our moods, our bank accounts, they move rhythmically. Today you're happy, tomorrow you're just as sad. This year you got a lot of money, next year you got a little money. All right? So this rhythmic flow is happening again at the level of the unconscious. In other words, it's impacting your feminine masculine energy. But it can be overcome with a powerful masculine energy, a powerful will, using transmutation. And then once you are hovering at the positive pole, in other words, you're polarized rhythmically in honor at the positive end of the pole, you avoid the rhythmic flow that's happening at the level of the subconscious. You are not affected by it. But I've gone over this many times in the other videos, so y'all go back and watch it. So this, once you're polarized here in honor, or you can be polarized here in dishonor. In the low vibration, you can be polarized in low vibration, let's say depression, or you're a coward. Or you can be polarized anywhere along this line. Let's say you're polarized here, rhythmically polarized here. Now, when you Do this behavior, this thought process long enough, it becomes a habit. In other words, cosmic habit force kicks in and you stay polarized here. Okay, so once cosmic habit force kicks in and you're polarized here through habitual behavior and thinking, because your self-image has now changed. In other words, you see yourself as a courageous person. You've therefore neutralized the swing, the rhythmic swing of the pendulum. You've neutralized at the moment, or you've overcome the hermetic law of rhythm that's happening at the unconscious level. But anyway, I hope y'all see that here. So you are not destined to lack consistency. You are not destined to lack resolve. You can use the hermetic laws to develop the opposite of these. So if you lack consistency, which is a negative pole, is low vibration, you can become what? Reliable, consistent, which is the opposite end of the pole. How do you do it? You transmute. How do you do that? Well, you can use the silver method, any of these other therapies that I talked about in the other videos, self-hypnosis. Of course, you need to take action, right? Plan your work your plan, be consistent as best you can, and eventually you will become a consistent person if you stick with it. You will transmute. All right? That's my point there. How long have we been going? So we're just going to go a little bit longer, and then we're going to stop. Maybe another 10, 15 minutes. All right? It is significant that John's Gospel, I'm on page 209. It is significant that John's Gospel, which at this moment seems to reflect a slightly different tradition from Mark. Y'all got that? John's Gospel is saying something different than Mark. Okay? Listen, y'all. Listen. It is significant that John's Gospel, which at this point seems to reflect a slightly different tradition from Mark, dates the crucifixion differently. Y'all got that? John's Gospel dates the crucifixion, has a different date for the crucifixion occurring. Christ was crucified on a different date. Two conflicting dates. So if the dates are different, somebody committed fraud. This is Pisces, right? Deceit. Somebody committed fraud and perjury. Now this is an acknowledgement by this religious leader. If there is fraud, if there is perjury in a contract, the New Testament is a contract, a covenant. Fraud means what? The contract is void from the beginning, void ab initio. Void ab initio means it is unenforceable. This is an excellent example of intentional deceit in the Gospels. An excellent example of intentional deceit in the Gospels. Now remember, these Gospels are testimonies. These are testimonies. In other words, the witness gives his testimony. And there's fraud. And there's fraud. So the witness committed perjury. There's fraud in the New Testament. Either Mark committed perjury and fraud, or John committed perjury and fraud. In either case, there's perjury and fraud. So the contract is invalid, unenforceable. Okay? It cannot be used to make a judgment. It is not law. That's the point. Okay, well, let's see. Is it just a little thing? No, this has to do with the crucifixion. So the crucifixion, Christ giving his life as a propitiatory sacrifice, meaning forever, don't have to be done again, to save you, turns out to be a lie. Fraud. Let's read. Mark tells us that JC, the Christ figure, ate a Passover meal with his disciples on the night before his death. This is in Mark. Mark is supposed to be the first gospel. Mark chapter 14, verse 12 and 17. Mark chapter 14, verse 12 and 17. JC ate the Passover meal with his disciples on the night before his death. For John, however, this final meal, or the Passover meal, was eaten. It took place on the day before Passover. Y'all got that? Y'all got that? Let me say it again. According to Mark, JC ate the Passover meal with his disciples on the night, it was dark outside, on the night before his death. Okay? Now John says this. JC ate the Passover meal on the day before Passover. Is that clear? I'm going to say it one more again. Mark says that JC, the Christ figure, ate the Passover with his disciples on the night before his death. The night before his death. At nighttime, the day before his death. John says that JC ate the Passover meal the day before Passover. The quote-unquote, the day of preparation. That's at John chapter 13, verse 1. And John chapter 19, verse 14. Notice this. Timing differs too. Okay, so timing differs too. Let's see what he's going to say. According to Mark, JC, the Christ figure, was on the cross from the 3rd hour, which is 9 a.m., to the 9th hour, which is 3 p.m. So let me repeat that. According to Mark, JC was on the cross. He was crucified at 9 a.m. in the morning. And he stayed on the cross until the 9th hour, which is 3 p.m. in the afternoon. This is at Mark chapter 15, verse 24 and 30, verse 25 and 34. And then we have the next sentence. Since the Jewish day began at sunset. Since the Jewish day began at sunset. Sun is going down. It's nighttime. Day is turning into night. JC's death would therefore occur on the same day as Passover. Y'all got that? Sun is setting, sun is going down. It's getting dark. Day is turning into night, sunset. All right? Since the Jewish day began at sunset, JC's death would therefore occur on the same day as Passover. Sunset, the day turns to night, sunset, that's the beginning of Passover. In John, however, it is at noon. Noon is 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So in the book of John, the Gospel of John is different from Mark. In John, JC is on the cross at noon on the day before Passover. All right, let me read it in the sentence. In John, however, it is at noon on the day before Passover that they lead Jesus away to his death. John 19:14. The precise time that the priest would be busy in the temple killing thousands upon thousands of Passover lambs. Y'all got that? The day before Passover, the priests are killing thousands upon thousands. Just imagine, everybody in Israel, right? They're bringing their lambs. Everybody outside of Israel is coming into Israel, bringing their lambs to be sacrificed, bringing their animals, their lambs to be sacrificed. How many tens of thousands of lambs? Y'all think about this. They're at the temple. Thousands of lambs. What are they going to do with all those dead bodies? What about the fluids in the intestines? Y'all know what vomit smells like? You know when you vomit or somebody else vomits? Y'all ever been out drinking when you're young and somebody vomits? It's disgusting. Imagine if you smell the intestinal fluids or the stomach content of a sheep or other animals. Imagine the stench. Let's say when they kill the animal, it has feces, right? What about all that feces? Imagine the smell of the feces in the air. They're killing thousands upon thousands of sheep. So now you got the stench of death. You know, a body will start stinking after a couple hours, right? In the sun, probably even before then. If it's supposed to be in Israel over in East Africa. Now you got the urine. Okay, sphincters keep the body fluids in. So when you kill an animal or a man, those muscles relax. Now what's going to happen to the feces and the urine? What about when the priest cuts the feces, cuts the intestines out, cuts all the organs out of the animal? Imagine the smell. Imagine a priest with this big knife, and he's cutting these animals. He got blood all over his face, blood all over his clothes. Read the Devil's Pulpit so you can read about the technique that they would slaughter these animals. Yeah, the technique that they use, the blood would splatter in their face and their mouth, including the poop, including the intestinal fluids. Splatter in their mouth, all over their face. So now you imagine, you see this priest, he got blood all over him and a big knife in his hand. That looks like something out of a horror movie, right, y'all? Be honest. Be honest with yourself. You see somebody with blood all over themselves. Imagine they got poop on them from the animals, intestines. You smell blood, you smell poop, you smell urine. He got blood all over himself, his face, his hands, his clothes, all bloody. And he got a big knife. And that's supposed to be holy of the Most High. And he's stinking. The whole place. Y'all ever went past a pig farm and smell how disgusting? I mean, it's just overwhelming. It takes your breath away. But yet they're killing thousands and thousands and thousands of sheep. And they got time, excuse me, and according to John, they have time to go crucify JC the Christ figure. So that means they got to go clean themselves up so they can be presentable in public. How many priests do they have killing all these thousands of animals? Where are they storing, where are they putting the feces? Right? Y'all think they're going to kill all those animals? Think about this. The sheep, they have fur. The sheep have fur. Y'all really think these greedy priests are going to kill those sheep and not take the fur so they can sell it and make some money? Y'all really think that? Think about that. These greedy priests, they're going to let all that money go. Y'all think they're not going to skin them animals, keep the sheep skin so that they can make garments? Keep the hair so that they can make garments and sell it? All that takes time. And they're doing it by hand. They're not using electrical clippers. They're doing it by hand. This is totally impractical. It never happened. You realize how the stench, the extreme stench would be? Y'all realize that this would cause a public health? You'd have cholera everywhere. Everybody would have cholera. The poop and the urine and the water supply, it would be a public health nightmare. Somebody might say, oh, well, they're burning the bodies. Where are they going to burn them? Where are you going to burn thousands and thousands and thousands of sheep? Be practical. Be reasonable. But yet they stopped doing all of that work, according to John, and then they went and they crucified JC the Christ figure. All right? So y'all see, this story, according to John, is unreasonable. It's impractical. So somebody committed fraud. Somebody lied. So the question is, what are you going to do about it? You're still going to believe the lie? You're going to live your life by a New Testament or a new contract that's void from the start? It's unenforceable? It has no jurisdiction. It is unenforceable. It's fraudulent. It's unenforceable. Due to what? Lack of jurisdiction and fraud. It ain't got nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. It's Christian canon. It's admiralty. It's admiralty, maritime admiralty, Catholic Christian canon policy. That's it. It's a story. That's it. It is not a contract that is enforceable. You don't have to be scared. If you start learning law, you'll learn that if there is fraud in a contract, it's unenforceable. If a witness commits perjury, you don't have to believe him. His testimony doesn't count. So what you scared of? So let me say right here, I'm going to suggest, highly recommend everyone to return to the Most High by following natural law. Follow the Most High's instructions. They are natural law, the essence of which is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, or don't harm anyone, including yourself. Okay? Stay in honor at all times and at all costs. Free yourself. Free your mind. There's no savior but you. There's no savior but you. You save yourself. And that's the natural law. It is impossible. Now, this is not me talking. This is not Dr. Yasapa talking. This is the Reverend Bill Darrell-El. He obviously knows what he's talking about. Okay? I don't have a horse in the race. I didn't make this up. I didn't think it up. I'm sharing with you what this author has written. This is not my original information. Page 209 continue. It is impossible that both John and Mark can be right on this. The two accounts cannot be reconciled. In other words, somebody, either John or Mark, is clearly lying. Clearly. And all attempts to reconcile what Mark said about Christ's crucifixion when it happened and what John said about Christ's crucifixion when it happened. Okay, that's what we're talking about, reconciling them, making them make sense. In other words, making it so that they're both telling the truth. It cannot be reconciled. And all attempts to reconcile them failed. What is this word? Lamentably. In other words, I'm sad. I'm lamenting because these two accounts, you cannot make them both be true at the same time. Okay? Cannot be. But the discrepancy, notice this, y'all. But the fact that somebody committed fraud is really irrelevant. Y'all hear this? And this is what religion does to you. You're being played for a fool right now. Now he gonna start, as we used to say, nigga-splaining. He gonna start nigga-splaining. And he knows. Hold on. He knows, as I said yesterday, many other times, our people have been poorly or miseducated, intentionally, low to no reading comprehension skills, and intentionally put you in a situation where you have poor analytical skills. You were not taught analytical skills. You were not taught how to think critically. You were indoctrinated. You were indoctrinated, taught to believe, not to think. Note what he says. Y'all listen to this. But the fact that somebody lied, Mark lied or John lied, the two stories cannot be made to match. But the discrepancy is really irrelevant. Okay, well, clearly they lied. We cannot deny that they lied. Somebody lied. Matthew lied or John lied. Undeniably, you got me on that. But it really doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Both authors, that is both John and Mark, have the crucifixion occur during the Passover season. Can you imagine that, y'all? Let's say you're a lawyer. You're defending your client. The prosecutor comes in and says, oh, your client, Kille did Mr. Jones either the day before Passover or on Passover. We don't know. Or it could have been any time during Passover season. You're going to look at that prosecutor and laugh, right? You're going to walk all over him. He just made a fool out of himself. And just like you'll be a fool if you believe that the day a crime is committed doesn't matter. Okay? What matters is that it was committed during Passover season, or that it was committed in the springtime, or it was committed in the winter, the summer, the fall. Remember, y'all, the standard is you have to be proven guilty by beyond a reasonable doubt. Both authors have the crucifixion occurred during the Passover season. Despite the historical unlikelihood of this. In other words, historically it's very unlikely. Why? Because it is symbolically appropriate that it should be so. This is ridiculous. Here's more spin. Here's more stuff you're supposed to believe. More niggasplaining. John is concerned to show JC the Christ figure as the sacrificial lamb whose death was prefigured in the centuries-old practice of animal sacrifices. And so John makes the time of his execution, that's JC's crucifixion, correspond with the time of the ritual killing of the animals. That's called a lie, right, y'all? Isn't that called a lie? John has the responsibility, the obligation to tell you the truth. Yes. John has the obligation to tell you the truth about when JC the Christ figure died. Therefore, he did not. Therefore, that's called fraud. Look it up in a law dictionary. You're supposed to govern your whole life upon Christ's sacrifice for you. Right? You're supposed to agree to suffer for a lifetime and to believe you're going to go to heaven or hell. To give up your hopes, dreams, and desires in life to do Christ's will. Yet, one of the authors of the gospel, John, lied. Does he not have an obligation to tell you the truth? Yes or no? Is he obligated to tell you the truth about the day and time of Christ's crucifixion? If your answer is yes, and I hope you got common sense enough to say, yeah, he does, he is obligated to tell the truth. Nobody has a license to lie. That's called what? That's called intentional deceit. That's called duplicity. This is Pisces, y'all. He committed fraud. Fraud. Why did he do it? Well, we just read why he did it. He wanted to connect JC the Christ figure's death with the ancient Jewish tradition of sacrificing animals. So he lied to you, so he could make that connection. Continue. Although we cannot although we cannot readily discern such a theological motive in Mark. So in other words, they don't have a reason to believe Mark is lying. There's no doctrinal reason. So what's the doctrinal reason to believe that John is lying? Well, the Jewish people sacrificed animals. And the sacrifice of the animals was to forgive sins. Clear? So John, when he wrote the Gospel of John, wanted to connect JC to that ritual. Why? Because he wants you, the reader, the devotee, to associate JC, the Christ figure, with being that sacrificial animal that will get you forgiveness for your sins. So he outright deceived you, outright lied to you, straight up lied. Fraud. Okay? Fraud. He has a responsibility to tell you the truth. What if JC never died on the cross? That means he's not your Savior. Because JC is believed to be the Savior because he gave his life on the cross. He shed his blood so that you could have forgiveness of your sins, so that all men can have forgiveness of their sins, or for all Hebrew Israelites to have forgiveness of their sins. But even that is a lie because JC ran off. And it was Simon the Cyrenian. I believe it was most likely Simon the Cyrenian, a Moor, who got hung up on the cross in JC's stead. So JC bounced and let another man hang on the cross, and then JC took the credit. Said he was resurrected. How do we know? Through the grammar. Through the grammar. Go read it in the Devil's Pulpit yourself. The link to the Devil's Pulpit, it's a free PDF. Click on that link, download it, read it yourself. I'm not telling you something that is unknown that I discovered. The Devil's Pulpit was published way back in 1857. And the author began giving sermons on this stuff, I believe, way back in 1832. Ain't nothing new. It's just been hidden from you and me. So now you got all of these people lying to you. Fraud. There is no new covenant. It's a made-up, fraudulent story. Why? Because we're dealing with deceit. Lies and deceit. Pisces, duplicity. Stop being scared. You have nothing to be scared of. Continue. Although we cannot readily discern such a theological motive in Mark, we can legitimately assume from the imagery in the narrative. You better look out. You better look out. Anytime you see the word imagery and narrative, or the author is painting a word picture, you better look out. Don't allow an author to activate your imagination. Why? Because you want to avoid being transported into the narrative. You start seeing images in your mind. You start feeling a connection to the characters. All of a sudden, boom, it's real. Now you've been brainwashed. Now you start to accept the values, the belief system in the book. They got you. Through the magic of words, casting spells, through the magic of songs, through the magic of sermons, all right? Casting spells, incantations, chants. And behind the scenes, these dirty, rotten preachers and pastors, imams, all of these religious leaders, well, I won't say all, many are doing rituals to their deity the prince of darkness. I'm not talking about the devil. Okay? The brothers of Saturnalia, these other secret society members, they're doing rituals to the end that you will become completely under their control mentally. You can read it in the Devil's Pulpit. Like I said, the link is in the free PDF. Okay? The Devil's Pulpit. The link is in the description area of this video. Yeah, they're doing rituals to gain complete control over your mind. But don't believe me. Read it in the Devil's Pulpit. All right? All right, so concerning Mark again, concerning Mark's gospel, Mark's account about the crucifixion, we can legitimately assume from the imagery and the narrative that Mark associates JC's death with the Passover for two reasons. The first is related to the fact that the Passover is a springtime festival. Oh, springtime. That's astrology. That's astrology. The vernal equinox or the spring equinox. Okay, so what's his first reason? Astrology. He's recognizing astrology. He's following the way, the Maserat, the Zodiac. The second reason concerns the approach of a new age of Pisces. Aries is ending, Pisces is beginning. The age of Aries is ending, the new age of Pisces is beginning. All right? Both are astrological. Both have to do with the Zodiac. Both reasons. It's not me saying it. I'm just reading it. And you're all witnesses to the fact that I'm reading it from this book. I didn't make any of it up. Page 209. Let's continue. The second reason concerns the approach of the new age of Pisces, when the equinoctial point would move out of the constellation of the, let me repeat that, when the equinoctial point would move, we're talking about Pisces. So I got a notice that my connection was lost. So let me just repeat this. I'll read it again. The second reason that Mark says that Christ expired or was crucified and expired at sunset. Let me go back. Hold on, y'all. Let me make sure I get this right. Mark tells us that JC ate the Passover meal with his disciples on the night before his death. Y'all got that? On the night before his death. Okay, let's continue. According to Mark, JC, the Christ figure, was on the cross from the 3rd hour, which is 9 a.m., to the 9th hour, which is 3 p.m. That's Mark chapter 15, verse 25 and 34. Since the Jewish day begins at sunset, that means day is turning to night. JC's death would therefore occur on the same day as Passover. Now, I just gave you the first reason. The first reason why Mark says JC died on Passover, which was what? Because that's that's the spring equinox, right? Let me do it again. But I don't know how much y'all read, so let me just go through this. How much y'all heard, because I got to notice again that the connection was lost. So just bear with me If y'all didn't hear it, I'm doing it now. If you heard it, just bear with me. All right. So in Mark, we can legitimately assume from the imagery in the narrative that Mark associates JC's death with the Passover for two reasons. Reason number one. The first reason is related to the fact that the Passover is a springtime festival. Okay, Passover occurs in the spring. Y'all remember? Here is the spring equinox, and this is the fall equinox. Okay? The sun, here is December 21. Hold on. Okay, this is the summer solstice, this is the winter solstice. June 21 or so, December 21, 22, June 21, 22. Summer solstice, and this is the fall equinox and the spring equinox. So, December 25, 24, 25, 12 midnight, the sun starts to spring upward. The sun is springing upward, it is ascending. Now, remember, this is the spring equinox. This is zero, the celestial equator, 0 degrees. Now notice, my fist is the sun. It's springing up. Now my fist, the sun is exactly at 0 degrees. Now the sun passes above the celestial equator. Let's say it's at 1 degrees. This is the Passover. The sun just passed over the celestial equator. Y'all got it? The sun passed over the celestial equator. Clear? All right, y'all got that? That's what's happening. That's what's happening cosmically. Okay? This is what the author is talking about. I hope y'all can see it in your mind now. Okay? The first is related to the fact that the Passover, the sun passes over the celestial equator. Okay, so the Passover is a springtime festival. The second reason concerns the approach of the new age of Pisces. Aries, the age of Aries is ending, and the age of Pisces is beginning. There's death, destruction. Let me repeat that. There is destruction, death, and decay, chaos, confusion, turmoil, and suffering at the end of every zodiacal age and the beginning of the next. Watch the video that I did, number 43, to get more on that. All right. So the second concerns the approach of the new age Pisces, which when the equinoctial point would move from the constellation of the Ram into the constellation of the Fish. So now let me show y'all this. So this happens backward. Okay? It's due to a phenomena called the precession of the equinoxes. Let me show you how. Let me give you a visual. Give me 1 second. Let me find a chart. Give me 1 second. All right. So y'all see this? This is the Maserat, the Zodiac. The root is the Zoad. So here we are. During Mark's time, they were in Aries. Y'all see it? During Mark's time, they were in... Oh, here. During Mark's time, they were in Aries. Due to the progression of the equinoxes, we go backwards, or what appears to be backward. Okay? What appears to be backward into Pisces. Okay, so y'all see the line here? This line is the beginning, is the end of Aries and the beginning of Pisces. So this is the second reason. Clear? We're leaving Aries. Aries, remember the blowing, Aries is the ram, the blowing of the shofar, the ram's horn. Leaving Aries. Each, you see there are 12 zodiacs, signs. A great year is roughly 25,900 years. Divide that by 12 zodiac signs, and that's going to give you approximately 2,500 years or so per zodiacal age. All right? This is what the author is talking about. And that happens backwards. Okay, it happens backwards. Or it appears to be backward. Is that clear, everyone? So let's continue. So that's Mark's reason, according to the author, according to these scholars. He wanted everything to line up astrologically. Well, that's no surprise, because the first Christians are called the Way, the followers of the Way. What's the Way? The Zoad, the Zodiac, the Maserat. Makes sense, right? The first Christians were called the Way. Those who followed the Zodiac, the Maserat, the Zoad. Okay? All right, now let's continue. So now, the other concept I want to explain to you is that during a zodiacal age, every March 19, 2021 or so, the sun is going to come up. It's going to rise above the celestial equator, which is a projection of the Earth's equator out into space. It's 0 degrees. The sun rises up once a year, so there's a Passover once a year. So let's assume, or let's just say for now, that a zodiacal age is 2,500 years or so. All right? So for the next 2,500 years, if you look outside toward the east at about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, in the age of Pisces, you will see Pisces just above the horizon. About 5:30 in the morning, 5:45 in the morning. You'll see the constellation Pisces just above the horizon. Y'all got that? For the next 2,500 years. And then the next zodiacal age, for the, let's say Aquarius, right? End of Pisces, beginning of Aquarius. When you look outside, 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, just above the horizon, you're going to see Aquarius in the eastern part of the sky, just above the horizon. Okay? So, what does it mean? You can know a zodiacal age simply by going outside at 5:30 to 5:45 in the morning. That's when the sun is coming up. Right? Look toward the east, and just a little bit above the horizon, you'll see a constellation. If we're in Aquarius right now, for the next 2,500 years, when you go outside 5:30 or 5:45 in the morning at sunrise, you turn toward the east, and you're going to see Aquarius just above the horizon. All right? In Pisces, in the age of Pisces, you look outside, you see Pisces just above the horizon. During Aries, the age of Aries, you look outside toward the east at sunrise, 5:30, 5:45 in the morning, you're going to see Aries just above the horizon. If you go outside during the age of Taurus, Y'all remember Taurus when the house of Yasharallah was in bondage in ancient Egypt, according to the story? You go outside at 5:30 a.m., 5:45 at sunrise, just above the horizon toward the east, you're going to see the constellation Taurus, the zodiac sign Taurus, just above the horizon. That's how that works. This is what he's talking about. All astrological. This is a Christian telling you this. Dr. Yasapa didn't make it up. Okay, the Reverend Bill Darlington is telling you. You go read the Devil's Pulpit, which is the #1 authority, the foremost authority on astrotheology, you get the same information. Okay? Let's continue. Let's continue. Mark symbolism in these 3 chapters is based on 2 cycles. The first cycle is the ordinary yearly cycle, which ends with the sun moving from Pisces to Aries at the equinox. The second cycle is the great year. I just explained this to y'all. It says here, see the forgotten language of the stars. The forgotten language of the stars is inserted in our textbook here. So just turn to the front, you'll see it. All right, in which the equinoctial point itself moves backward. Okay, it's called the precession of the equinoxes, through the constellations of the zodiac. Okay, and it says we'll examine them in turn. All right, y'all. So I hope I did a good job explaining these concepts. I hope you understand it. If you can't see that either Mark or John committed fraud, then something wrong with you. Now, if John is right, and it was Matthew who committed fraud, what do we need to do? We need to check Luke. I'm sorry, if Mark is the one who lied. Now remember, Matthew and Luke used Mark, the Gospel of Mark, as a template to develop their gospel stories. Huh? So if Mark lied, that means Matthew and Luke also lied. That means 3 of the Gospels lied about the date and time of Christ's crucifixion. And Christ's crucifixion is supposed to be why he's your Savior. So now you got 3 out of 4, 75% liars. 75% of the Gospels committing fraud. 3 out of 4. 3/4, 75%. Fraud. Now if John lied, you got 1 out of 4 committing fraud. In either case, fraud is fraud, no matter if it's 1 or 10. Fraud is fraud. The New Testament, the so-called New Contract, is void ab initio, void from the beginning. Okay, and I'm going to say it again, due to lack of jurisdiction and fraud. It has nothing to do with any real history. Okay, and again, it is maritime admiralty law, Christian canon law. It has no jurisdiction over a Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, autochthonous more, sprung from the soil, man made manifest, the land made manifest, thought, all law the Hermetic law of mentalism. No jurisdiction over you. Islam to all the Moors. I'm Dr. Yusapa from Zion Law School. Be sure to support my project to write the Book of the Law into Ancient Ibaryath and modern English to remove all of this duplicity, deception, and deceit per Jeremiah 8, verse 8, which talks about the lies that have been written into the Book of the Law, to restore nature, natural law, including astrology, including constitutional principles. All right? So if you feel it in your heart and you want to support that project so we can have our own Book of the Law, so we can get off of our knees, okay, using the hybrids materials, and then you turn around and talk about how you're chosen and holy. It's so ridiculous. Y'all ought to be ashamed of yourself. I'm not saying everybody, but y'all know if it stings, I'm talking to you. Islam and Shalom to all of the Moors.